Hello everyone, my name is Varun and I welcome you to another session of Zoho Finance Masterclass, where we strive to help you master Zoho Books for your business. A quick introduction about Zoho Finance Suite. It's a collection of financial tools to run your business's back office operations. Today, the spotlight is on Zoho Books. It's a cloud accounting application that helps you stay on top of your finances. You can manage your payables and receivables. For Indian attendees, you can also file your GST returns using Zoho Books. Now, this is the core structure that we are following for the Zoho Finance Masterclass. We have already covered 5 topics, and today is the turn of the sixth topic, which is streamlining your sales with Zoho Books. Now, this is how a typical sales process looks like. It starts with a quote or an estimate or a proposal, however you may call it. Then we have the sales order, which is a confirmation you send to the customers for the order. Moving on, we have invoices. And lastly, we all like to get paid, so we have payments. But then in the process, we may also accept advance payments, which in Zoho Books we call the retainer invoices. And then we have something called as recurring invoices, which happens on a recurring basis. Next, we have the agenda. The agenda for today's session is setting up the sales module, creating sales transactions, accepting payments, handling refunds, connecting and sales finance team. Now, first thing first, we need to set up the sales module. So the setup is divided into two parts. First is the general settings, and next is the module specific settings. So general settings are common to all within Zoho Books. For instance, let's see the screenshot on the right. This is where you check the modules which you want to be visible within Books. So it can be the estimate module or the purchase orders or the retainer invoices. I'll give you a better example. Let's say if timesheet module is not applicable to your business, simply uncheck it and it won't be visible. So it is the best way to beat the clutter. Why have it all when you need just the few basic modules within Books? We also have something called as transaction approval, through which you can bring in more control within the accounting application. So let's say if you have a hierarchy, there's someone who's entering the transaction and you as a manager wants to approve it. So in future, when you enable transaction approval, whenever your subordinate punches in a sales transaction, you have the authority to approve it. So that is possible with the latest feature that we call the transaction approval. Then we also ask you whether you give discounts at a line level item or at invoice level, or it may be a case where you don't give discounts at all. So just select the option here. And then how do you want to charge your taxes? The MRP or the selling price of the good, is it tax inclusive or tax exclusive? Please select here. And then we move on to the module specific settings. So this screen I've taken from the estimate module. So we ask you certain questions whether you want to convert an estimate to invoice directly. Choose the option based on your requirement. Similarly, we have settings specific to sales order. So within order, we have something called as custom status. So by default within Books, we have certain status like draft when it is not sent to the customer, open when it is yet to be accepted by the customer. So, but then if you want something different, which is very specific to your business, you can also rename the default statuses that we have in Books. For instance, in the example shown here, instead of draft, I want something which is in progress. So simply add the already available status here on the left hand side, which is draft in this case, and change it to the name which you want, which is in progress in this example. So next time when you create a sales order and when the status for that sales order is draft, it will be shown as in progress since you have created a new custom status. This is the invoice module. So within the invoice module, when you enable certain fields, you will get notified when the customers pay you online. You can also attach thank you note. So all that you can select it here. Further, we move to something called as custom fields. So often, Zoho Books is comprehensive, but then at times you may want to add certain fields in the invoice or any other transaction which you're carrying out. So we let you create custom fields. Simply go to that module under settings tab and then create a new custom field. For instance, in this example, I've created a custom field called as payment reference. So next time whenever I create an invoice, a payment reference field will be created. I can make it mandatory. If that's the case, you cannot save the invoice without entering the payment reference number, whose data type is text. And if you want it to be visible in all the invoices that you create and send to your customers, you can check the show in all PDF option. Further, we have something called as custom buttons. It's like adding additional functionalities to Zoho Books. So let's say if you have a discounted period wherein you want to give 5% discount to all the transactions that are happening. Let's say it's a special offer for that week. So create a custom button with a code in backend, which is very simple. Then in future, whenever you create an invoice, under the more button, you'll have the custom button called as discount. All you need to do is click on it and automatically 5% discount will be applied to that particular invoice. So this is the beauty of custom button. Now this topic is again focusing on the commonalities. So these are certain things which is common to all the modules in Zoho Books. It's as simple as importing and exporting transactions. Obviously, I mean, if you are using some other application and if you want to migrate to Zoho Books, you must be worried about the data that you have in that application. So the best way forward is to import all the transaction from that application to Zoho Books. So simply go to that module and click on import under the more option, and then as you can see, you can upload the file in CSV, TSV or XLS format. Furthermore, if you want to switch to any other software from Zoho Books, we also let you export all your transactions from Books to the other application. So you can do that as well. Next we have custom views. So all the modules in Zoho Books let you filter the data. So this screenshot I've taken from the recurring invoice module. As you can see, it says all recurring invoices. Basically, there is a drop down on the left hand side top corner. When you click on it, it will show you all the invoices with a particular status. So we have active, stopped, expired, and there's something called as new custom view. So when you click on new custom view, you enter certain parameters. Based on that, next time when you select that option, you will see the recurring invoices filtered and sorted in a particular based on particular parameters. Next we have performing standard operations. These are the operations which are common to all the modules. So every time whenever an invoice or any other sales transaction is created, you can either edit it, you can download it, you can print it, and you can even share it with your colleagues. So this feature is common to all. Now we have something called as enabling exchange rate feeds. Now if you have customers worldwide, fear not, because Zoho Books supports multi-currency. All you need to do is go to settings, and under settings you have currency, and then enable the exchange rate feeds. So next time when, let's say if you are from India and you have a transaction from US, in that case the customer will be charged in US dollars, but the amount will be recorded in Zoho Books in your base currency, which is INR. So simply click on enable exchange rate feeds and we'll do the automatic conversion. Adding attachments. So all the modules permit you to add attachments. So this is for your more information. So in future, if you have any receipt, you can attach it here. It provides you more context. And then we also let you customize templates. So this example, I've taken it for a retainer invoice, which is applicable to the Indian market. So you can create a retainer in a retail invoice, and you can edit everything right from header to the font to the logo, how much margin you want to keep. All that you can customize within Books. So these were the things which are common to all the modules in Books. Now we'll deep dive into certain features which are very specific to that particular module, starting with the estimate module. So like I said, estimate module is the module through which you can create your quotes, proposals, and you can send it to your customers. This is how the sample estimate looks like. First, you need to enter the customer name. Then we focus on the estimate date and the expiry date. So expiry date, beyond this expiry date, the estimate will fail, it will expire, and it will be no longer valid. Further, we enter the information pertaining to the item or the service that you are selling. So in this case, since this estimate is taken from the Indian organization, so as the moment you enter the information about the product, we fetch the HSN details and corresponding GST rate is shown based on the address of the customer. So if it is an interstate transaction, a different GST will be applicable. If it is the same state transaction, a different GST will be applicable. So you have already created an estimate and now you send it to your customer. What's next? Your customer has to approve it or decline it. So we move to the second point, accepting or declining an estimate. There are two ways of accepting and declining an estimate. One, your customer can do it through a client portal. The client portal in Zoho Books is a self-service portal through which your customers can update their bank statements, they can update their credit card details, they can view past transactions as well. So this screen I've taken it from the client portal, and as you can see it shows the estimate which I've sent from Zoho Books. Now your customer can directly accept or delete an estimate from here. Further, there's one more way of doing it, that is doing it within Zoho Books. So let's say if you've sent a mail to your customer, or if you have spoken to your customer over a phone, and then the customer tells you that he accepts the estimate, so you can accept the estimate within Books by simply going to the estimate and clicking on More, and then from the drop down, click on Mark as accepted. Next, we have something called as viewing estimate status. So for a growing business which is sending multiple estimates to customers around the world, it is difficult to track. Well, let's take a normal example. So you are sending an estimate to a customer over an email, and it's very difficult to actually keep a track of it because again and again you have to go back to your inbox and look for that particular email or talk to the customer on a phone. Better option is to track everything within Books. So let's say when you send an estimate to your customer, instead of him replying to you on an email, what he can do is he can simply add as a comment in the client portal, and you as a business owner can view everything within Books. So there's a bell icon on the right top corner of Books. When you click on it, you'll see the notifications. So as you can see, you will come to know when your customer, which in this case is Mr. Rakesh Sharma, has viewed an estimate or when he has commented on an estimate. So all you can do is you don't have to log into the system, go to the inbox and check for it. Rather, Zoho Books will tell you when the estimate is viewed or made payment or whatever it is. You get all the notifications here itself. Continuing with the same example, so the estimate exchange happens through an email, or if you do it over a phone, it takes time. Plus, I mean, especially when you're sending a lot of mails, it may happen that it may pass through the cracks. So, better way of keeping a track of it is to record everything in your Books application itself. So, when your customers are typing anything as a comment in the client portal, you as a business owner can see it here in Zoho Books itself. So you can keep track of all the conversations here without going into your inbox. So see how easy it is with Zoho Books. And now that you have an estimate, obviously the next step forward would be to either convert it to an invoice or convert it to a sales order based on a business requirement. So as you can see, you can convert it to an invoice, or when you click on more, you can convert it to a sales order, and also we let you convert it to a project. Now, from an estimate, you can also create a retainer invoice. So, let's say when you're sending an estimate and you want the customer to pay 10% as an advance. So, at the time of creation, we ask you whether you want to create a retainer invoice from this estimate automatically. If you check the option, we ask you for the percentage or the value as a whole. So, when you enter, suppose 10%, the customer is supposed to pay 10% as an advance. Next, we have the sales order. So sales order is the confirmation that you send to your customers. And again, the layout is more or less the same. You start with the customer information, then certain fields which are specific to the sales order. This blue color icon that you see is the one that generates the sales order number. You can either keep it on auto generate mode or you can enter your own customized sales order number as well. Then here you enter the information pertaining to the product that you're selling. Now, similar to estimate, you can also convert a sales order to a purchase order. Now, this is a unique case which I would like to talk about. So, let's say if you have 5 items in your inventory at the moment, whereas the customer has ordered for 10. But obviously, I mean, since you have only 5, you can give only 5 products to the customer at the moment. But then you know that customer is still waiting for the other 5, the remaining 5. So, what you can do is when you create a sales order, you can directly convert it to a purchase order. So for the remaining 5, a purchase order will be created and sent to a vendor. So the vendor can then directly give it to the customer. So in short, you can create a sales order to purchase order to meet such a requirement where your inventory stock is less, but then the customer has asked for it. So you're automatically converting into a purchase order. and the remaining, when you get it, you'll be shipping it to the customer. Taking the same example forward, this is called as partial invoicing. Partial invoicing, let's say, I mean, again, since you have only 5 items in your inventory, you will invoice the customers only for the 5, whereas the remaining 5, once you get it from the vendor, you will invoice him later, invoice the customer later. So that is why what we term it as partial invoicing, because you are invoicing the customer only for the 5 items and not 10. You can also create shipments and packages. Now we move to the more important module called as invoice module. The layout is still the same. So as you can see, we start with the customer name. This invoice, I've taken it for the Indian market. Again, we ask for the place of supply because your GST rate is totally dependent on the place of supply. Then we record other information like the terms, in how many days is the amount due, and based on that we calculate the due date. We capture the information pertaining to the product. So let's say if I enter home decor set, it will automatically show the HSN code applicable to it and also show the product description and GST rate applicable. So again, giving you an example, so it may happen that for a customer X, there are certain transactions which are yet to be billed. So in this case, it can be an unbilled expense or it can be an unbilled projects. So you can also associate here. So as of now in the screenshot, as you can see, it has only one line item, home decor set. But then if I include these items, it will have 4 line items. So it will also include 1 unbilled expense and 2 unbilled projects. We can also schedule invoices. So let's say if you know that you have a customer who is from a different region, and it will be better if I send this particular invoice at this particular time so that he doesn't miss out on the invoice. So you can also schedule an invoice. Then we have something called as bad debt, which is a very common scenario in businesses. So if you want to write off certain invoice, we help you do that as well. Simply go to the invoice and click on more, and then we give you the option of writing off or making it a void invoice. Moving on with the sales transaction, we have retainer invoices. How do you create a retainer invoice? A retainer invoice can be created from an estimate like I showed you earlier. Simply enter the percentage. Then if you want to collect a retainer invoice from the client portal, we also give you the flexibility through which you can collect the retainer invoice from your client using the client portal. This screen I've taken it from the client portal. So let's say if you have created a retainer invoice of accepting 20% as an advance amount, so your client will be able to view this particular screen in the client portal and then he can make the payment for it. Next we move to recording offline retainer payments. So you can even record a payment. For that you have to go to a retainer invoice tab within the sales module and click on record payment, and then you have to enter the payment mode. So payment mode can be cash, it can be check, it can be online transfer, and then you have to choose the deposit to account. It can be petty cash or the name of your bank or any other account where you're maintaining the inflow. And also if you want to send out a thank you note, you can do that as well by simply checking on this button. Then we also give you the option of manually charging your customer for a retainer invoice. For that, you need to first make a note of their credit card details. This is how we keep a note of it. And then we charge the customers. Now you can also convert a retainer invoice into something the way we did for estimate and sales order. So retainer invoices can be applied to multiple invoices. So let's say you raised an invoice of $1,000 for a customer, whereas you collected an advance payment of $200 using a retainer invoice. So now you have to basically apply these $200 to the total invoice value of $1,000. So let's say when I do that, so the amount actually due with me after applying the retainer invoice is only $800 because $1,000 minus $200 is $800. And whereas if you're talking about this particular example, the invoice value is $100, whereas I collected a retainer invoice of $200. So the retainer invoice value is 0. At the same time, the balance due for the customer is also 0. Then we have certain reports which are very specific to retainer invoice. So to view and access these reports, you have to go to the reports section of Zoho Books. So we have reports on retainer invoice. So we list down all the retainer invoice reports. If you have made some refunds in the past, we show you that as well. And the payments that you have received till date. Next, we move to recurring invoice, a very interesting concept here as well, especially for businesses that are doing charging customers on a recurring basis. It can be a subscription business. So, for instance, let's say if you're charging customers for a magazine, or for that matter, if you are a gym owner who are charging customers on a monthly basis for the gym services that you provide, this is something called as recurring invoices. So, what you need to do is simply set the profile right for the recurring invoice. So, you have to say the profile name. So, in this case, it's in hotel renovation. Then, when do you want it to repeat? So, let's say as a gym owner, I want to charge someone on first of every month, and it's like a monthly cycle. So, I'll choose a repeat every as monthly over there, and then start on first of this particular month and keep on repeating it for next 3 months if it's a quarterly um, uh, quarterly subscription. Then if you can also select the never expire tab if you want to keep it continuous, and then the payment terms. So recurring invoice is a great way to reduce bull work on your part. So instead of creating an invoice every month for the same set of customers, it's better to create a recurring invoice because it happens automatically. Another example I can give you is that of a business which is into stationery, which is providing stationeries to a particular business. So let's say X business orders a stationery worth rupees 5,000 every month. So as a business owner, instead of you creating a 5,000 rupees invoice every month, it's better if you create a recurring invoice which gets sent on first of every month. So there's no need for you to repeat this exercise over and over. Now you can also convert an existing invoice like a normal invoice into a recurring invoice. All you need to do is open an invoice and then make it recurring. Further, you can also filter a recurring invoice. So these are the different statuses that we offer. One is called as active recurring invoice, one is stopped, and one is expired. So active is the one which is still in progress, stopped is the one which is forcefully stopped by you, and expired is the one which has met the deadline. So you don't want it to continue beyond that. Now we move on to the more important part, which is like accepting payment, because we all need money to keep our business running, right? So accepting payments is here. So Zoho Books lets you accept payments through two ways, online and offline. So for online, we have tied up with multiple payment gateways. So this is the screen that comes on your screen when you're creating an invoice. So this particular section, so which talks about the payment options. So I've taken it from the Indian edition. So as you can see, these are the payment gateways with which we have tied up. So we have Easy Pay and Razor Pay. Easy Pay is something through which you can collect payment. It's an ICICI product, and we did a marvelous integration very recently. We'll be talking about it in the subsequent webinars. So you can start accepting payments online. Then there are two ways through which you can accept payments. One is by sending an invoice and then your customer making a payment using the client portal. As you can see, the invoices are here. Customer can make the payment individually. And the other way is when you create an invoice and send a link to the customer, they can simply click on the link, go to the payment page, and make the payment. Then we support something called as partial payments. So let's say if $1,000 is what the customer owes you, or 1,000 rupees is what the customer owes you. So instead of making the entire payment, the customer can make payments in parts. So he's paying you only 500 rupees as of now. So that is partial payment. So when you make a partial payment, it says partially paid. Remaining amount is still is the amount which the customer owes you. Then we have an interesting feature called as bulk payment. So this is basically easing things for your customers. So let's say if there are 10 invoices which you have sent to your customers. So it can be really cumbersome for your customer to clear the payments one by one. So what we offer is bulk payments. In one single go, he can clear all the payments. So that is like less work and it is a little less tiresome for your customer. And finally, we also let you auto charge your customers. So for auto charge, the customer needs to first enter the credit card details in the client portal, and he has to check this option, use this card for future transactions. And next time onwards, you can start charging your customers automatically based on the authorization given by the customers. Furthermore, you can also add a card using Books. So within Books, go to the contacts module and add a new card to the contact. Once you associate a credit card, in future you can start charging him. And in future, let's say if the customer updates to a new card, he updates a card, or if he goes for a different card, he can also update the card details here. So either your customer can do it in the client portal, or you can do it for your customer here within Books. Next thing, we also let you accept offline payments. It's great to have online payments because it's clear, it's fast, you can keep track of it. But then a lot of businesses accept offline payments too. It can happen through cash, it can happen through check. So fear not, we cover you on offline payments as well. So recording payments offline, simply go to that invoice and click on record payment. When you click on it, you will be redirected to this page where you enter the amount that you're receiving, the payment mode, it can be cash, check, or any other payment mode, and to which account you want to deposit it to. You can make a note as well, attach files for your reference, and voila, it's done. Now, handling returns and refunds, because again, not everything goes perfectly planned in the business. So at times it may happen that your good may not be accepted by the customer and the customer returns it back to you. So basically, you owe something to the customer. This money you have to either refund it or make a credit note out of it. So credit notes are basically a proof that shows that there is a certain amount which you owe to your customer. So credit notes can be created by going to the sales module and clicking on plus. And when you create a credit note, this is how it all populates on the right hand side. Once you have the credit note, you have to obviously apply a credit note. So this is the amount which I owe to the customer. So next time when I create an invoice, that amount has to be deducted from the total invoice value. This is what we are doing in this screen when you click on apply to invoice. Furthermore, if you want to return that credit note, you want to return that money back to the customer, you can click on more and click on refund. So that amount will be given back to the customer and Zoho Books will automatically adjust the value. You can also do bulk actions. You can delete, you can download, you can print. And lastly, we move to a very important topic called as connecting sales and finance module with Zoho. So for your reference, Zoho is a connected platform. So all our applications, they talk seamlessly without any technical challenge. So if you go for a third party app, basically it involves a lot of technical efforts. Whereas Zoho, the integration is one click. So your information moves seamlessly within applications. And in this particular case, we are talking about your sales and finance team working together. So often sales and finance team, they work in separate silos. They're not aware of the scenario, and it may happen that because of this distance, they may take a wrong decision. So here we introduce Zoho CRM. Zoho CRM is an online software that helps you sell smarter, better, and faster. It's a CRM tool of Zoho application. So what happens is next time when you sync Zoho CRM with Zoho Books, we help you sync your accounts, we help you sync your vendors, we help you sync your products and items. Furthermore, all your transactions within the invoice module, estimate module, sales module, and purchase module also sync up with Zoho CRM. I'll give you a live example. I'll give you an example of this particular scenario. So let's say if I am the sales rep and I'm talking to a customer who has many invoices pending in the past. So obviously my approach has to change, and this is only possible if I have the relevant information about the customer within my CRM system. So for instance, this particular screen shows me how Zoho CRM looks like. So here I have Zoho Finance, and within Zoho Finance I have the invoices, estimates, sales order, and purchase order. As you can see, there is this customer whose account name is Aaron Industries, and the balance due is $45. And in fact, there are two invoices. So if I as a sales rep, I look at this data, I know that this customer has been always delaying me in terms of making payments. So I need to change my approach. So as you can see, this is all contextual. So based on the relevant data that you get, you can change the way you approach your customers. So this is the power of syncing your sales and finance data using Zoho CRM and Zoho Books. So that's all about it. So this is about the sales module of Zoho Books, and these are our contact details. If you need any help, drop us a mail at support.india@zohobooks.com. Furthermore, if you're calling from India, you can simply call us at 1-800-123-7711. We have a very comprehensive help doc as well. We have the URL here, zoho.com/book/help, and we also have frequently asked questions. The webinar is open to questions. Feel free to ask us as many questions as you want, and we'll be back with the webinar series again next time. Thank you so much for attending. Have a great day ahead. Thank you.